here is a 2006 Victory Hammer 100 cubic inch engine, and the problem we're having with it is this primary drive bearing is just shot. The motor's got about 6,000 miles on it, and we don't know why the bearing's bad. It's rusty. It's the case hardening on the bearings is worn out, whatever. So what we need to do is dismantle the engine and split the case, and it's quite the job. So I'm just going to show you a basic breakdown. I'm not going to take all of the gears apart inside the transmission. We're just going to break it down minimally as possible to change that bearing and reassemble it. Now, as far as who you're watching, my experience, master automotive tech for 12 years, and now business owner and small engine mechanic for the last 14 years. So, I am not a motorcycle mechanic. Very minimal work I've done to motorcycles. I've just acquired this motorcycle, and so it'll be not probably the best video for you to watch, but I have quite a bit of mechanical knowledge and know-how in engine dismantling. Started building race motors at my uncle's shop for Circle Track cars when I was 14, 15 years old, so been around motors a long time. So most of what you're going to watch, you can trust is true. We have the factory manual here too to help us along the way. So try to keep it to the point. We'll do this breakdown video, and then we'll do a follow-up video on the assembly and installation. And during the assembly, I'll give you the torque specs and things like that I have in the factory manual, in case you weren't able to find them for your project. So first thing we're going to start with is taking this off, and this nut here, I believe I've already taken it off, but it's a 48 millimeter, and first you have to remove these two screws and get this lock collar off. Again, I've already done that. The nut is already loose. And heads up, my application here, this nut was work to get off. The impact gun was really working hard to get that off. I don't know if it was Loctite or if mine was just a little bit rusty or what, but so be prepared for that. That's off. I've already removed the seal from here. This is the spacer, which the seal rides on. And we've got that off. That's the start. Next, we're going to remove this. And this is, if I can read it on here, a 5 millimeter Allen wrench. All the bolts on this, to my knowledge, are metric. Okay, so now that covers off, one thing that I always like to do on any motor, if I'm not real familiar with it, before I disassemble it, is I like to familiarize myself with the timing procedure. And so to start off with, when you're reassembling this, they want you to time the rear cylinder first. In order to do this, I rotated the crankshaft using a 15 millimeter socket on the other side here, which you'll see when I disassemble the stator. Rotating it counterclockwise. All I did was watch my intake valves, my exhaust valves, because I currently have the valve cover removed off the rear cylinder. And what you do, intake valves are going down. It's on the intake stroke. It means the piston is coming back up shortly. When the piston comes up, take a dull screwdriver or a dull 1/4 inch extension and gently rotate the engine while following the piston up with that until it reaches the top. That'll get you close. Now they have a lock hole down here, which you will see when you're in here. There's a hole in the engine case. It's 5/16 or 8 millimeter. They want you to use a punch 5/16 or 8 millimeter. I can't find mine currently, so I'm using just a regular 5/16 bolt and putting it through the engine case. I'm going to line up that hole and lock it in place. And so now I have the rear set. And so when the rear cylinder is on top dead center, which we did down here by inserting that bolt, and locking it in place when the piston was on top dead center. And now you can see these two yellow marks, which I've marked yellow, they're not yellow normally, are parallel with the cylinder head. So that one's on top dead center. So now I'm going to start doing some more disassembly, and then obviously we'll have to undo all that at some point, but I always like to have a starting point. So I'm not completely lost when I go to reassemble it. I've been through this already before it's apart. I can see how things are, how things go. To me, it's just it just makes sense to do that, to make sure that you don't screw things up, I guess, more or less. So that's that. Just so I don't damage it by accident. O-ring. And set that off to the side. So this is a 15 millimeter. Then the inside here is threaded, and I found this puller online. It is just on Amazon. It was like 10 bucks. You can use a regular bolt. I just opted to have something a little nicer. This is a M20 by 1.5 right hand thread. This is going to remove that press fit. Put that on there. Supposedly it's going to remove the press fit. See how this goes. Oh, well. Now I'll do the clutch basket. This is a 30 millimeter. Set that off to the side again. I'm not going to break this down. The clutch worked perfectly fine on this bike. All right, so we looked this up. So this is the torque compensator, and a lot of you guys are probably like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, but I didn't know that, and we need to take it off. So again, 30 millimeters. I'll leave all of this together. There is an order in which these go, these washers. In case it fell apart on you, you have concave, outer diameter, the high side is up, outer diameter, the high side is down, and then again, outer diameter, high side is up, outer diameter is down. It's just like that. Again, when I'm doing things, try to put it back, lay it out on the bench the way that it came off. In case it has to sit for a while, you don't forget how it goes. In my case, I'll have a video I can go back to. There's a big snap ring here. All right, now this is a big snap ring. This off, just like so. And I gotta say, so far, it's coming apart pretty easily. Now I kind of jumped the gun here. Looks like this gear is in the way of removing this gear. That is what that looks like. Now this gear should come off. That's not good. This will be good times. All right, so there's springs in here. I'll do what I did. Okay, so that we got the rest of that off now. Now it just came off, it just slid right off. I'll show you how the springs go back in on the assembly. Not a big deal, looks pretty straightforward. Now there is a what I would call a sprag, which is an automotive term, but it's a one-way bearing, one-way clutch. And what I'm going to do, because it's one way, is I'm going to mark this yellow marker so I know it goes outward. When I reassemble it, so it goes back together right, and I don't have an issue. And I'm assuming this pick will just pull this right out. And this looks to be in pretty good shape. Okay, so that's that. And then, looks like this gear is bolted on with some Allens, and they are to be 6mm. Yeah. Looks like we're going to have to remove this idler gear. This is threaded. I'm just going to see if I put a bolt in here, if I can pull it out. There it goes. All right, so that comes right out. And I just used one of the, I believe it was actually the bolt for the crankshaft position sensor. And this gear, the shaft on it doesn't want to come out, so I'm going to see if I can just push it off to the side. Yep. And now I'm going to pull this gear out. And now I can pull this one out. So I have this idler out, and I have this out. We're going to go back to the other side. We're going to start taking the cylinder heads off, timing chain, and gears, and all that, and try and get the cylinders off, and we will come back to this. Okay, so I do not have a metric wrench that goes large enough to this, so I'm actually going to use an 1 1/16", and it fits pretty decent. It's a little loose, but for what we need to do, it fits just fine. So that's one. Not much to that, pretty self-explanatory. There is a washer here, the ceiling. Use that. Again, 8mm, and we're going to have to rotate the engine to get to the bottom bolt. First, take the top one off. So I'm going to take both of the cam gear bolts out on one half of the cam gear now, and I'll rotate it, and then I have access to both at the same time. So maybe that'll be probably the easier, it's safer, smarter way to go. And if you couldn't tell, I'm being very cautious because I'm not super familiar with this motor, as I've said, and I don't want to screw it up. So we take our time. Alright, so we got all the cam gear bolts out, so we're just going to see how this goes. Hopefully there's enough flex here to get this chain out. Movement. It appears that there is, so I'm going to pull this out, like so. Straight out of the top. The aluminum guide comes out. 15mm nuts and two 13mm nuts. Get those out now. Okay, so now I have the nuts out of there, and I didn't realize this, but this whole cam and rocker assembly will come out in one piece. You don't have to take the cam out, but it will come out in one piece. like so. Now the head should come, this head should come off. It does. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed with how easily this comes apart. And one other thing, guys, when I'm unfamiliar with an engine with a steel gasket like this, you know, usually it only fit on one way, but in the event that it doesn't, I am just going to mark up. Okay, so we got everything out of the rear cylinder. Again, same thing as the front. I'm just going to take the cam assembly out, mark our cylinder head, rear. Probably shouldn't put it right there. Just see it. Anyway, cylinder head off. Again, guys, this stuff comes off really easy. I'm not having to force anything, which is really nice. So let's just see easily the cylinder comes off. I'm going to start looking at splitting this case, and this is the only part I wasn't crazy about, is having to split this. There's a tool that they have that I was not able to find that helps press this apart. I don't have that, so I'm going to have to make something more than likely, and I will do that, and we will be back. Okay, so just real quick recap. So where we're at so far, and we are torn down to here. So we have everything pretty much ready to split the case halves. You do have to take the oil filter off and one more sensor, but other than that, we're ready to split that. We'll get back to that in just a minute. Just wanted to recap the tools I used. Just a dead blow for general persuasion. 3/8 extension, didn't probably have to be that long, but it did need that. A 90-degree pick to remove the one-way roller, screwdriver, and small pry bar for general removal of things. A good-sized snap ring pliers, side cutters to get the keyway out, which I don't even really probably didn't even have to take the keyway out, to be honest with you. My other snap ring pliers, the 1/4-inch extension is what I used to find top dead center. 3/8 impact driver, I didn't use much for ratchets or anything. My 1/2-inch impact gun, a 15mm, a 13mm, a 10mm, a 5mm Allen, and a 6mm Allen, and a number 30 Torx. And here's that puller tool again for the stator. I don't know the technical name for that piece. It's not the actual stator, but it would be the main. We'll call it the flywheel. The M20 by 1.5 right-hand pitch. I don't know if that's going to focus in on that, but that was Amazon. It was like $12 shipped. Regular bolt would probably work too. Flashlight, my 8mm on my impact gun. 48mm for the primary drive nut, 30mm for the clutch basket and the torque compensator, and this is just the socket I used for the puller and my marking tool. And that was really it. Okay, so I have this on its side, and I have a couple of 4x4s underneath to support it, so we're not resting on the balance shaft and things like that. Now, one thing I wanted to make a quick note on, I'm not quite sure what sensor, if this is the neutral sensor or if it's the speed sensor, but it's down behind the primary drive. I did notice when I took this apart prior, just checking things out when I was inspecting the bearing, I wanted to look inside and see if I could peek in there and see what the rest of it looked like. When I pulled this out, there is and this sensor is a 7mm socket, just so you know. But when I pulled this out, there is a little pin in here that fell out. And it was a good thing I caught it and I put it back in, but I thought, you know, some guys might not be so lucky. So here's the sensor. And I'll show you the pin I'm talking about, see if I can remove it with a magnet. So mentioning it's made of steel, it should come right out. So, but there's the end of, and there it is right on the end of my magnet, and there is a spring on it as well. So be careful not to lose that. And I can see how that would just, I almost lost it. It fell out on me. I didn't know it was there. Luckily, it was on my lift table. I know some guys aren't that lucky to have a lift table. Might be on your garage floor or whatever, and rolls off on the ground, never to be seen ever again. So that is that. Okay, so I've loosened all of the 10mm bolts that keep the two case halves together. One thing is helpful, people. Majority of the bolts are shorter. There are 2 length bolts in this. Majority of them are short, and the longer ones, there's 5 longer ones. Would be here. This is your dipstick opening. You have 2 here that are longer. You can see 2 length differences. And then you have the 3 up by the cylinders here. See these here. So there are 2 length bolts. The long ones are the 5 I just pointed out. The rest of them are the shorter ones. Hopefully that saves someone some time, including myself when I forget when I'm putting it back together. What I'm going to try to do, because I don't have the special tool, and to be quite honest, I'd rather not make one if I don't have to. So what I'm going to do, if you look at the top of this, the output shaft, we have a little recess there. I'm going to use this air hammer. I'm going to be very careful with this, very lightly, easy on the trigger, and I have a bit in there that has a pointed tip, and we'll set that in here like so. And while we're doing that, I'm going to take a porta power, and I know that sounds scary for those of you who know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to put it right here. Now this is a pretty rigid place, and for those of you who don't know what a porta power is, they have many uses, but this is a porta power, just a hydraulic jack basically, and I'm going to be using this jaw press here, and these are not super strong, okay, but I'm hoping it's strong enough to separate that, and while it's separating that, I'll also use the air hammer to try and force the press fit of the bearing out of the case while this is splitting. That's the idea. Let's give it a try. Okay, so it did move a little bit. I've got about a little over 1/8 of an inch. So, but I want to make sure I don't want to break this case or anything with the shaft. I'm just going to kind of walk around and take a light hammer and a light screwdriver. Careful not to mar it up too much. I'm going to work my way around so I can keep this moving nice and easy. I'm not trying to go in real far, not trying to force this all at once. Just trying to massage this. I'm going to wash my hands, grab my camera, and I'll just kind of walk you around the inside of this. So if you need a reference for, maybe how something goes back in, you can see it, because I am not going to dismantle all this. I don't have a need for that. I just need to change that bearing and kind of visually inspect things. But hopefully this will help you with orientating something if you've taken it apart and maybe dropped something or something is not making sense. So, be right back. Okay, so I'll give you just a little walk around here, try to get you best look at things as I can. You know, and the inside of this engine, I'm very pleasantly, I figured it'd be clean, but very happy with how clean it is. I mean, it looks, as it should with 6,000 miles, it looks brand new inside, with the exception of that bearing, and I'll get to that. So again, there's really not much to see here. I mean, there's a lot of gears. These gears are in great shape from what it looks like, so I'm happy with that. Hopefully this might help you with some assembly issues or whatnot. Now getting to my problem is this case half clean, bearing is like new, bearing is like new, bearing is like new, and then you have this, and this is the bearing I'm changing. It is just nasty. So whatever has happened here, there's quite a bit of just garbage right there. I'm assuming the seal failed, belt debris got in there. This bike sat for about 6 years, didn't get oil up there, and then I rode it for a few miles just to see how it rode when I got it, and all that crap just probably kind of got all, you know, crunched up and thrown around. So I'm going to be changing that bearing, and then we'll do the reassembly. There's 4 screws here that come out, and see if I can get you guys some lighting. So I have taken 4 screws out here, and they are 25 Torx. Torx 25. So I've got the screws out already. I'm going to take this retaining ring out. If you look at this, this thing is just, it's just nasty. It's so odd considering the condition of the rest of the internals. So again, a mystery to me, but I'm sure it's just bad seal and sitting without oil circulating and condensation and things like that. You know, you can see just how bad this bearing is compared to the rest of them. So probably just, you know, luck of the draw. Nobody else in the world probably has this problem but me, because that's, as we all know, just how it goes sometimes. So now the manual shows to put this in a press. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and just tap it out with a hammer and tap it back in. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. Let's find out. Put a piece of cardboard down to protect the gasket surfaces from my table. And I'm actually just going to use the socket that I used to take the primary nut off. That's a 48 millimeter. And I will try it. And there it is. So I see why they recommend using a press. But my press is in my basement here. I don't feel like going down the stairs with this thing and setting that all up. Although I'm going to attempt to tap in the new bearing with a block of wood. If that doesn't go smoothly, then we'll switch it up, put it in the press, and put it in that way. So, but trying to do this, a lot of guys don't have a press at home. So let's try it this way. There it is. There's the old one. So the new one, expensive little bearing. It's Victory. When you order it from Victory, they want about $150 for it. Now I lucked out, and maybe the guys watching this video, someone on eBay, appeared to be potentially a motorcycle shop based on the username, had a brand new, the part number is going to be backwards, but it's 3514772 is the bearing for this, the Polaris number. Got a brand new bearing. It lucked out. I don't know if it was a leftover part they didn't need or what. It was an open box, but new part, and the part is brand new. 35 bucks. We lucked out. So always nice to save money because I think I've got like $200 in gaskets to put this back together to change this stupid bearing. Guys, just pulled my bearing out of the freezer. Again, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we're going to try it. And I have my oiling can, a little bit of oil on here. Goes a long ways when you're trying to put something together that fits tight. Definitely doesn't hurt. So I'm done fighting with this. I'm gonna walk this down to the press and finish putting it in. All right, so we got the bearing pressed in now, and that went well. So we're good there now. We have to put the retaining ring on, and we're done with this part of it. Okay, so then the rest is just gonna be the engine assembly, which I'm gonna do in the next video. So quickly, I'll just go through the torque on this. This is so on the 92 cubic inch engine, they want you to use 262 Loctite, which is the red stuff. Most of us know what it is. On the 100 cubic inch engine, they don't even recommend Loctite. I am still going to use 242, which is the blue Loctite, just because it'd be silly for this screw to come out for some reason, and blue Loctite's not that aggressive. The torque spec on it is 65 inch-pounds, and then it's the same for the 100 cubic inch engine as it is for the 92 cubic engine. So the only difference is red Loctite on a 92 cubic inch engine, no Loctite is necessary per the factory on the 100 cubic engine. So I'm going to put these in and torque them down, and that's that. So and all in all, I would say it's a pretty easy job to do. Even for myself, it was a little intimidating to think about doing it without having done one before and knowing there's specialty tools I don't own for it. I'm not a motorcycle mechanic. There's a lot of differences between motorcycles and cars and outdoor power equipment. That's all kind of the same. Same crap, different pile type of thing, but there's differences in that and so on. So, but I don't know that you guys need to sit here and watch me torque this down with a torque wrench. You know how that works. So I'll do that, and I'll wrap this video up in just a moment. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap the video up here. We've got it all broken down. We've got the new bearing in. I will try to stay closer to the camera for the assembly, which is coming up next. That'll cover, what type of silicone sealer to use on the case halves, the torque specs, the time, setting the timing, the valve lash, everything you need to know to put it back together properly so that it runs. Also, in hindsight in this video, the primary side, none of that needed to come apart to split the engine. The clutch basket, the flywheel, the torque compensator. I realized after I split it that none of that had to come apart. Unfortunately, it's just something I had to take apart and to figure it out. But maybe that'll help you. Maybe you needed that information for your project. So we're gonna be doing other projects coming up. Just all kinds of fun stuff I like to tinker with, and we do a pretty good job at it. And so that being said, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already and you want to, subscribe. Thanks. See you in the next one.